Reed Hastings' story begins quietly, in a family that encouraged curiosity and independence more than competition or pressure. He grew up in a comfortable and supportive home where books, puzzles, and long conversations about ideas were common. Reed was a child who loved to observe the world, often listening more than speaking, and thinking more than reacting. His calm, methodical nature appeared early, shaping the way he approached problems throughout his life. Even as a boy, he preferred understanding why things worked rather than simply accepting that they did. Reed developed a strong interest in mathematics, finding comfort in the clarity and structure it offered. Numbers made sense to him in a way that felt grounding and reliable. While other subjects flowed with emotion or interpretation, math gave him a sense of stability and control. It became a quiet anchor during his formative years, teaching him how to think logically and break challenges into smaller, manageable pieces. This mindset became one of the defining traits of his leadership later in life. Despite his gentle personality, Reed wasn't the type to stay inside the lines of routine. He was restless in his own calm way, always searching for meaning, purpose, and experiences that would stretch him beyond comfort. After graduating from Bowdoin College, he wasn't drawn to easy paths or predictable careers. He wanted something that felt real and challenging, something that would show him what kind of person he could become. This desire led him to consider a future far different from that of most of his classmates. Reed made a surprising decision. He attempted to join the Marine Corps Officer Candidate School. He wanted to test his discipline and push himself into an environment where mental strength mattered as much as physical ability. But the experience didn't unfold the way he imagined. He struggled during the entry tests and ultimately didn't complete the training. Instead of feeling defeated, Reed felt humbled, and that humility planted the seeds for a more reflective chapter of his life. Shortly afterward, Reed joined the Peace Corps, a decision that changed him in ways he could never have predicted. He was assigned to teach math in Swaziland, a place far from the familiar comforts of his upbringing. The experience broadened his understanding of the world and deepened his sense of empathy. Reed learned to appreciate cultures that moved at different rhythms, where connection mattered more than efficiency. This period taught him patience, humility, and the value of service. Living in Swaziland also showed Reed the beauty of simplicity. He spent 2 years teaching in small classrooms, helping students who were eager to learn but often lacked resources. He learned how to adapt, how to communicate across cultural differences, and how to solve problems creatively. The experience grounded him in a deep appreciation for education and human connection. It became one of the emotional foundations of his life, a quiet reminder that purpose often grows through service. When Reed returned to the United States, he carried with him a new kind of focus. He had seen parts of the world that moved differently, places where time felt slower and life was filled with quiet resilience. The experience gave him a clearer sense of what mattered and what did not. He felt ready to build something meaningful, but he didn't yet know what that would look like. With this clarity, he enrolled in Stanford to study computer science, marking the beginning of his journey into technology. At Stanford, Reed found a world of innovation that ignited his curiosity once again. He was surrounded by ideas that stretched the imagination, and he felt energized by the possibilities of software. He discovered that his calm, analytical way of thinking suited the field perfectly. Programming felt like an extension of his love for math, a structured language for solving problems and creating things that didn't exist before. Each project strengthened his fascination with what technology could become. Reed's time in graduate school prepared him not just academically, but mentally. He learned how to think long-term, how to embrace uncertainty, and how to explore bold ideas without fear. Stanford wasn't just a place of learning, it was a playground for imagination. Reed felt his purpose taking shape little by little. He didn't know it yet, but he was gathering the tools he would later use to build one of the most influential companies in the world. After graduating, Reed stepped into the tech industry with quiet determination. He carried with him the lessons of discipline from the Marines, the empathy from the Peace Corps, and the logic from mathematics. These experiences blended into a leadership style rooted in calm resilience. He was ready to build, explore, and take risks. And as he moved into the next phase of his life, each step brought him closer to the idea that would reshape entertainment for generations. After completing his studies at Stanford, Reed entered the world of software engineering with a mindset shaped by resilience and quiet confidence. His first roles in tech allowed him to apply the structured thinking he had developed during his years studying mathematics and computer science. He found comfort in systems, building them, improving them, and understanding how even small lines of code could transform entire processes. The work was demanding, but Reed embraced challenges with a steady calmness. He was someone who took time to think deeply before acting. As Reed gained experience, he noticed something about himself. He wasn't just drawn to writing software, he was drawn to solving larger problems within organizations. He saw inefficiencies, communication gaps, and leadership challenges that slowed teams down. Instead of ignoring them, he became curious about how things could run better. This curiosity sparked a new ambition inside him, one that pushed him beyond the role of a traditional engineer. He began imagining a future where he could build something from the ground up. That moment came when he founded Pure Software, his first company. Reed built it with the intention of creating reliable tools for debugging and improving software performance. At first, the company was small, almost fragile, with long days and uncertain nights. Reed poured himself into the work, wearing multiple hats and learning how to navigate the unpredictable world of startups. He remained calm even when obstacles appeared, trusting that persistence would carry him forward. Little by little, Pure Software grew. As the company expanded, Reed found himself facing a new challenge: managing people. He realized that running a growing company was far different from coding in a quiet room. The noise, the speed, and the pressure were overwhelming at times. Reed struggled with the demands of day-to-day leadership, and mistakes were inevitable. Still, he learned valuable lessons about humility, adaptability, and the importance of building a culture rooted in trust. These lessons would later help him create Netflix's unique environment. Pure Software eventually became successful, but Reed felt the strain of trying to maintain stability in an organization growing faster than he could properly guide. He recognized that the culture wasn't evolving in a healthy way and that his own leadership skills were still developing. When the company was acquired, Reed experienced both relief and reflection. The sale gave him financial security, but it also left him with questions about what kind of leader he wanted to become. He knew he needed a different approach moving forward. After leaving Pure Software, Reed took time to understand what truly mattered to him. He didn't want to build another company just for the sake of success. He wanted his next venture to solve a real problem in a meaningful way. He also wanted to create a healthier workplace culture, one grounded in transparency, freedom, and responsibility. This period of reflection helped him reset his values and refine his vision. He was calmer, wiser, and more prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. The idea that would eventually become Netflix emerged from a simple moment of frustration. Reed had rented the movie Apollo 13 from a local store and returned it late. When he received the late fee bill, the penalty felt unfair, and it sparked a thought: why did renting movies have to be so inconvenient? The question lingered in his mind with a quiet insistence. It wasn't anger that moved him, but curiosity. He wondered how many people wished there was a better way. That small frustration evolved into a spark of innovation. Reed began imagining a company that delivered DVDs by mail, eliminating due dates and late fees entirely. It seemed almost too simple, yet the more he explored the idea, the more he believed it could work. He teamed up with Mark Randolph, a colleague with a shared passion for new ideas. Together they tested the concept with a single DVD mailed in a regular envelope. When it arrived safely, Reed felt a gentle excitement rise inside him. The idea had potential. Reed approached the creation of Netflix with a calm, steady mindset. He didn't rush to dominate the market or overwhelm competitors. Instead, he focused on building a system that was reliable, simple, and kind to customers. He believed that convenience and fairness should be at the heart of the company. This philosophy gave Netflix a different feel right from the start, one shaped not by pressure, but by clarity and intention. As Netflix launched its DVD by mail service, Reed paid attention to the details that made the experience smooth for customers. There were no late fees, no rigid return schedules, and no pressure. Everything was designed to make life easier. Customers appreciated the honesty and simplicity, and word began to spread. Reed's calm approach created a business model built on trust, one that quietly began changing the entertainment landscape. Netflix started small, but the foundation was strong. Reed had created something that felt aligned with who he was, a thoughtful system built with kindness, not aggression. It was the kind of company he wished existed during his time at Pure Software. And as Netflix grew, Reed felt more prepared than ever to lead it. He understood the rhythms of growth, the need for cultural clarity, and the importance of staying true to values. These early years were the beginning of a journey that would reshape how the world watched stories. As Netflix grew, Reed faced a challenge that would test everything he had learned about leadership. The early 2000s were difficult years, marked by financial pressure and uncertainty. Netflix was still a small company competing with massive video rental chains, and there were moments when the future felt fragile. Reed remained calm through the turbulence, studying the numbers, listening to customers, and thinking long-term. His steadiness helped the company stay focused, even when the path ahead was unclear. One of the most defining moments came when Netflix approached Blockbuster with an offer to buy Netflix for $50 million. Reed believed that together the two companies could complement each other, Netflix providing innovation and Blockbuster providing scale. But the offer was rejected, dismissed as insignificant in the face of Blockbuster's dominance. For many entrepreneurs, that moment might have brought bitterness or defeat. For Reed, it sparked quiet determination. Instead of dwelling on the rejection, Reed treated it as a reminder to trust the vision he had already committed to. He returned to Netflix with renewed clarity, knowing the company needed to evolve beyond DVDs if it wanted to survive. He encouraged his team to stay creative and keep improving the customer experience. Slowly, Netflix refined its subscription model and embraced a culture of experimentation. Each small improvement moved the company a little closer to its future. As technology advanced, Reed began to see a possibility few others anticipated. Internet speeds were increasing, computer devices were becoming more capable, and digital media was evolving rapidly. Reed envisioned a world where movies and shows could be delivered instantly, not through physical discs but through a digital stream. This idea was bold at the time, almost unrealistic. But Reed felt the same calm conviction he had felt during earlier turning points in his life. Transitioning Netflix from a DVD by mail service to a streaming platform was not an easy decision. Many people inside and outside the company doubted whether the technology would work or whether customers would embrace it. Reed listened carefully to concerns, but he trusted the long-term potential of streaming. He believed that innovation required courage, informed by patience. So Netflix began laying the groundwork, investing carefully in systems that could support streaming even before it was widely adopted. When Netflix introduced streaming in 2007, it wasn't perfect. The selection was small, the quality was limited, and adoption was slow. But Reed approached the rollout the same way he approached everything, with steady improvement, rather than rushing for immediate impact. Over time, the library grew, quality advanced, and more customers embraced the convenience of watching instantly. Netflix became one of the first companies to truly understand what the future of entertainment could look like. Reed believed that streaming was more than just a new distribution method. It was a chance to reinvent how people watched stories. TV no longer needed rigid schedules. Movies didn't require trips to a store. Entertainment could shift from an errand into an experience. Reed's calm leadership guided Netflix through this massive transition, allowing the company to adapt without losing focus. This clarity helped Netflix stay ahead of competitors who were still attached to older models. As streaming gained momentum, Netflix expanded globally. Reed understood that storytelling was universal. Cultures might differ, but the desire to watch something meaningful at the end of the day connected people everywhere. He approached global expansion thoughtfully, learning from each region and adapting the service to local audiences. Netflix grew country by country, forming a worldwide community of viewers. It became a platform where stories traveled across borders with ease. Yet even as Netflix reached millions, Reed sensed another shift coming. The company needed to create its own content if it wanted to stay competitive and creative. Licensing contracts were unpredictable, and relying solely on other studios limited what Netflix could become. Reed believed the next evolution required boldness, but he approached it with his usual calm clarity. Instead of rushing, he let the idea develop until the moment felt right. That moment arrived with the decision to produce House of Cards, a project that marked Netflix's entry into original programming. Reed approved the show based on data, instinct, and a belief that audiences were ready for a new way of watching. The decision surprised the industry. It represented more than a new show. It was a signal that Netflix was ready to transform from a technology platform into a global studio. And with this step, Reed set the stage for a new era in entertainment. When House of Cards premiered, it marked a turning point not just for Netflix, but for the entire entertainment industry. The idea that a streaming service could create high-quality, original content felt like a quiet revolution, something bold, yet delivered with the calm certainty that defined Reed's leadership. Viewers embraced the show immediately, proving that audiences were ready for a new way of watching stories. The success opened the door for Netflix to expand into genres and cultures across the globe. It was the beginning of a new chapter shaped by creativity, data, and long-term vision. As Netflix grew more confident in producing its own content, Reed encouraged teams to explore stories from around the world. He believed that great storytelling wasn't limited by geography or language. This belief led to a wave of international series and films that resonated deeply with audiences, shows like Narcos, Money Heist, Dark, and Squid Game. These projects proved that people everywhere could connect through shared emotion and human experience. Netflix became a global home for creativity, where diverse voices could reach millions. Reed also reshaped the internal culture of the company in a way that surprised traditional businesses. He introduced a philosophy built on freedom and responsibility, trusting employees with autonomy instead of controlling them with rigid rules. Reed believed that people do their best work when they feel ownership, honesty, and space to experiment. This culture wasn't perfect, and it required maturity and discipline, but it fostered a sense of clarity that helped Netflix adapt quickly in an industry defined by constant change. One of Reed's strengths as a leader was his calm approach to risk. He understood that innovation required trying things that might fail, and he didn't punish mistakes. Instead, he encouraged learning, adjusting, and moving forward with greater insight. This mindset allowed Netflix to take bold steps other companies feared, expanding into new technologies, new formats, and new markets. Reed guided these transitions with steady confidence. His quiet resilience acted as a foundation when the company faced uncertainty. As streaming grew more competitive, Reed remained focused on long-term thinking. He understood that trends would rise and fall, technologies would evolve, and content preferences would shift. Rather than chasing every wave, he stayed committed to Netflix's core mission, delivering great stories in the most accessible way possible. This consistency became a source of strength for the company. It allowed Netflix to remain centered even as the entertainment world grew noisier and more crowded. In his later years at Netflix, Reed began stepping back from day-to-day operations, allowing new leaders to emerge. He remained involved but focused increasingly on broader vision and global impact. His experiences in the Peace Corps and education shaped his interests beyond streaming, particularly in philanthropy and learning innovation. Reed believed deeply in the power of education to change lives, just as it had changed his own. This belief guided him as he explored ways to give back. As Reed shifted into this more reflective phase, he often looked back at the journey that brought him from teaching math in Africa to reinventing global entertainment. He remembered the moments of uncertainty, the quiet doubts, and the decisions made through steady conviction rather than force. He believed that leadership was not about intensity, but clarity. Not about being the loudest voice, but the most thoughtful one. And he carried these beliefs with him as he stepped into new chapters. What makes Reed's story remarkable is not only the company he built, but the way he built it. Netflix grew from a small DVD by mail service into a global storytelling platform because Reed embraced change without fear. He trusted long-term vision over short-term comfort. He allowed curiosity to guide him, resilience to steady him, and humility to shape him. His journey reminds us that the quietest minds can create the loudest impact on the world. As this documentary draws to a close, let Reed Hastings' calm approach offer you a sense of reassurance. You don't need to have everything figured out at once. You don't need to rush or compare your path to anyone else's. Progress unfolds slowly through small decisions made with intention and courage. And like Reed, you can reinvent your life many times over, each chapter bringing you closer to the person you're becoming. Now let your thoughts soften as the day settles around you. Allow the calm of Reed's journey to ease your mind, reminding you that growth can be gentle, patient, and purposeful. You deserve rest, clarity, and peace at the end of your day. Take a slow breath, release the tension, and let the quiet guide you into sleep. Good night.